This video will focus on a few ways that we can take a common dry erase marker and modify it so that it's a little bit more user-friendly. I've found this magnetic refrigerator model to be especially convenient, but I'll also show you how you can make one that works on any dry erase board. First, a quick note about dry erase boards. The best ones are made from tempered glass, and I made this one using a scrap piece of tempered glass, which I spray painted white, and then I used spray adhesive to affix some of these flexi magnets to the backside, and this works wonderfully. Tempered glass will erase much easier and cleaner than any other type of dry erase board. Okay, things that we will need. Craft felt. This is easy enough to find. And a piece of 3/4 inside diameter vinyl tubing, a piece of 3/4 inside diameter PVC, or electrical conduit will also work. In case you can't do conversions, that's about 28 centiliters, but I don't know if I'm metricing right because I'm an American. The first thing that I'm after is a 1-inch long piece of the PVC pipe. PVC is pretty easy to cut. My favorite way to do it is to use a miter saw with a backer board. Be sure to use a backer board to keep the piece from getting sucked into the blade. But if you don't have one of those, you can also use a handsaw, a hacksaw, a coping saw, or believe it or not, even a piece of string. This method will take a little bit of sanding though. I probably should have mentioned that it would be a good idea to make our little flat spot for our magnet before we cut it to length. If you don't have a drill press, you can do it the old-fashioned way. Or you could probably use a Dremel, I suppose. The next step is to cut the vinyl tubing to 1/2 of an inch, and that part will snap directly onto the marker. If you don't have one of these gizmos, then you can cut vinyl tubing with a utility knife if you're careful. If you're interested in seeing how this thing is constructed, then I would invite you to click and watch the video about it. The final part to prepare is the eraser. And in order to make that, we tightly roll a 6-inch piece of craft felt into this log. Now it's time to start putting these parts together. That's wonderful. It's worth mentioning that you can sand PVC, just like you would any piece of wood or other material. You can get it nice and smooth, and you can make a lot of cool stuff with PVC. This is not a life hack. This is an essential survival skill for making stuff. Now if you'd like to make the non-magnetic holder, you can still use some hot glue. You can put hot glue directly on a glass dry erase board with no worries at all. But if it's that white stuff, then let your glue cool down just a little bit so as to not melt the dry erase board. It will still stick even if it's not scalding hot. And that is exactly the method that I used here on this cabinet. can see that a non-glass dry erase board is garbage. And how does this method hold up? Well enough. Remember how I glued this earlier? Now I want to cut it to about 3/4 of an inch. Close enough. You can still make out the shape of the dime surprisingly well. What I've done is made a little mold using the foil in the dime. And now the important part is to get the glue on the sides. And I'm coating the bottom as well. Well, sometimes you can get the foil to come out and sometimes you cannot, but ultimately it matters very little.